Hi, good morning. My name is Chen淑丽. I would like to talk about SWOT analysis. What is it, and more importantly, why we need to learn about SWOT analysis. In this presentation, you will have the knowledge and the skill that's required to perform SWOT analysis. So let's get into it. I like to give an example of how I actually run it in my personal job performance. The first step is that, of course, I make sure that it's a big deal. Everybody understand how much I appreciate everybody's input. So we put everybody in the room. That include both the faculty and the staff because they're all important. Once I have everybody's attention, then I start to brainstorming section. My opening statement is always like this. Okay, we have a year to come. Now let's talk about who we are and what we want to be. So the questions I usually phrase is that if we have all the money and power and the influence in the whole world, how would you like to see your school become in 1 year, 5 years, and 10 years? And then we go from there. Usually that is a very, of course you can paraphrase to your desire, but that's how usually I brainstorming. It's fun and it's like, okay, strike everybody's imagination. So the first step usually, if you are an experienced leader and administrator in that particular organization, and I'm pretty sure that brainstorm will go very well, you may skip the second step. However, if you're new to the organization or this is not something SWOT analysis is not something that they have done regularly, you may want to consider the second step, which is have them write it down. Okay, this step, even if you have an excellent brainstorming, you can still consider the second and therefore the third step. Is to have everybody, because this is important. You invite everybody in the room, but as you know, not everybody tend to speak up. And then you may also find from time to time you have someone or a select few that dominate all the conversation. Then a large group become relatively quiet. So the second and the third step become necessary. So you basically give them a note. In the way I handle it, I give them a big piece of paper and I give them marker so they can write it big. Okay, so they can write one or two things and they can write it big. They can have all the paper they need. Then I will have a poster board. And then so if it's, getting big, then we will literally have them tape it and put it on the wall. So the whole wall are full of all of those things that they believe that they want their school to become. Then we collect them and then we, share what is things. So we start to sort them. And apparently for that questions, a lot of time it comes up. So what do you want your school to become? And then so some keyword come out. We want to be the best. We want to be the best. And then sometimes you can see we can be better by being different, and this is what we want to be different. So say, for example, they want to do best, we can say we want to have the best passing in-class pass score. Or our graduate will have a higher job, best employment rate. Then sometimes they will say they want to be different, so they will be specific, like we want to be different. In the South, most of people do online. We want to do hybrid. We want to bring students to our beautiful campus, but also provide the flexibility of online education. So, there's brainstorming. Whatever that is, every note need to be accounted for and then need to be respected. Then, of course, logically, you organize it and you clutter, put the idea in a meaningful order. And there are some teasing out need to do and to remove the redundant. So this is usually a very typical step when you're talking about strengths, because I start with basically goal setting. So once we decided, say, we want to be the best and we want to start a hybrid class, and that's sort of what we want to do to focus on for the immediate first year, and then we can ask the following questions. So what is the strengths that allow us to be the best in Knoxville, Tennessee? And then what is the strengths that allow us to offer hybrid when everybody is all about online, 100% online? So the second step, basically repeat the same process. You give everybody paper and then you ask the question. Okay, well, so what will be the weakness, or what are the things internally within our School of Nursing, within this college? What is the weakness? So maybe we need to have more planning process. The faculty need to see time, because when we do hybrid, that means students will come to campus, which is different from what we traditionally do 100% online. So that can be an extra resource, and we currently don't have. That would be an example of weakness, for example. And then so follow the same process that we do and we explain in the step 1. So you can also look for weakness that contradict strengths, and this is very important. So I use morality as an example. Earlier, when you talk about what make us best, what make us different, the faculty and staff may say, "Oh, because we support each other, we have a wonderful morale in our own little world." School of Nursing say. Then when you are asking them, what is the weakness? Again, you get the morality, but this time they claim that we have low morality in our school. Sometimes we backbiting each other, and they consider that as an experience that hinder us to become the best or become the first hybrid School of Nursing in Nashville. So if that is the case, then that is the time you really wanted to address it right there, right then with everyone. And believe it or not, sometimes, just sometimes, morality easily become both, because that's a very subjective feeling. Sometimes people just feel happy and satisfied with their job, and then even the same environment, same leadership, people may feel different. But difference is always good, always should be respected, but need to be addressed. And that is a good time when you do SWOT analysis, if those does come out, okay? And step 3, similar as step 1, but this time you're looking at opportunity. Remember, opportunity is looking at externally, so outside. So in your community, in the current market, in today's society, so that's think outside of your organization, okay, when you're looking for opportunity. Now you need to look for real opportunity, not the ideal, something that you can accomplish. Remember when we were bringing SWOT analysis earlier, it's all about goal setting, it's all about mission statement, and those things need to be real, not, ideally we would like to. Ideally, everybody wants to be the best in the world, but what is real? Okay, so that's what we're going to focus on. And the next thing is about the indicator. So when you look for opportunity, you need to find out how do we know those are real. Remember earlier there's a photo, there's opportunity and threat, and there's a lot of question mark. How did you know those are actually the real question mark that come out as opportunity or threat, or those that is not lit up, right? And same thing as threat, very similar to opportunity, is dealing with external. Again, you need to make sure it's real, and then you need to ask the hard question, how do you know those threats are real? So when you do this, I'm sort of go over this earlier, but just some fine tune I like to mention. You need to have a moderator who can steer the process. Somehow the chief officer usually become the moderator, but it's not necessary always. But you definitely need to have someone that's skillful and knowledge of the SWOT analysis before you assign that person as a moderator for the process. And it usually takes 4 hours. I mentioned this because if you rush it, you schedule a SWOT analysis and you only give 1 hour, and then you didn't accomplish, you rush them through, because brainstorming takes a lot of time. So usually I incorporate SWOT analysis in part of our annual retreat, because they were happy, they were all relaxing, and then we do SWOT analysis. And I usually budget at least 4 hours. So we start early in the morning, 8 o'clock, and then when we finish all the brainstorming section, and then we have nice lunch. So again, I mentioned earlier, you need to have all parties involved to be part of it. And then you need to do it more like a workshop. So if you need visual ad, like I mentioned, sometimes we just tape all over the walls with those notes, and then sometimes we have a poster, stickers, and so make it fun, but make it meaningful. Okay, those are the key points when you do the SWOT analysis. So internal environment, you need to look at personnel's aspect, environment, who is your customer or clients, and what's your budget situation, how kind of committee structure that you have, and basically your organizational chart. And then for college and university, we focus on not just the education. You also need to look into the practice, clinical setting, as well as research. So strengths, and again, strengths is something that's based on the team player that you have and how they define it. So what are we good at? Those are some of the questions you may use when you try to identify strengths. And what makes us competitive, okay, or how can we be different? And what are our resources? And weakness, those are some of the questions you may ask to stimulate the participation or the brainstorming section. What are the things that we're badly at, and what annoys our customer the most? And the customer, it can be clients and students if you're in the college environment. In the external environment, you need to think a little bit, just more comprehensive, if you may, your immediate community, but then you also want to look at, because of the digitalized world that we live in now, so you have to think about the competing organization in a larger sense. Okay. And also for healthcare, you need to also look into the clinical setting, and don't forget the little satellite physician office as well. And if there's required fundings, then you need to look at, is there any grants opportunity? So when you look at that. So opportunity can look like this, and I emphasize on opportunity and threat that sometimes can be deceiving, sometimes hard to spot. There are times the opportunity is such that you won't miss it. But for most of the time, opportunity is try and error. And the only way for you to increase your chances is that you heavily rely on a very competent and committed team member, and then you allow them to voice, and then all their voice will be heard. And that's how you'll be able to enter the right door and get the opportunity that you deserve. So in the looking at the opportunity, when you try to facilitate the brainstorming section, you will want to make sure any external circumstances that need to be looked at, which we mentioned earlier. And then usually you can do a 1 year, 5 year, and 10 year. And you can do all three of them if your organization has that routine. But whatever that is, you need to at least set the time frame. So just if you want it to be a little vague, you can have open questions, like what we like to expect for the next few years. And then you can break it down to 1 year, 2 years, and 3 years. Oh. And so the next is threat. And similar to opportunity, sometimes it's very obvious, like that picture, like the little cat has a dog, that's a threat. But sometimes it's not. It's like a wolf in sheep's clothing. It's not very clear. So just like opportunity, you really need to rely on your good team to do that. And same thing, that when you look at it, you need to look at it to differentiate, is it real or is it a potential threat? And then what do other people do that and we don't? So you don't want it to be behind, because when you are behind, you are actually losing. So that is a threat. And then being comfortable, being excellent sometimes can be a threat, because you did not continue to challenge yourself to reach the full potential. And then looking into the future that can affect you. Again, too many change can also be a threat. A well-executed, well-planned out change can be a great opportunity. But the opposite, same thing dealing with change management. If you are doing too much, too many, too frequently of changes, it can be a threat. So again, those are like two sides of the coin.